Tracy, can I?
Oh, he's on? Oh,
I don't know who else is on. MKT, is it?
okay.
Can I call the
Joining right
meeting,
now.
Tracy?
Can you just hold one moment?
Okay.
Sorry. I just have to resend the link to one of the attorneys. Okay. Millen is MKT. You know better.
I think she fixed it. But I heard like earlier, just joined.
He did? Oh, he's on? Oh, okay. That was him, so.
Are we good to go?
Yes, sir.
We're up, I'm on, Mike's on.
Yep. All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Riverhead Industrial Development Agency meeting to order at 5:03 PM on March 27th, 2023. The first item would be to consider our proposed agenda. I'd ask the board to consider the agenda, and if acceptable, can I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. The meeting is convened and the agenda is accepted. Now I'd like the board to consider our minutes from our meeting of February 6th. Have you all had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
And if so, and in agreement with those minutes, could I have a motion to accept those minutes?
Also move.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
So the minutes are accepted under Resolution 0923.
Pardon me, Chairman? Can we just do an audio check for the two attending? Bye. Can you guys hear? Millen? Bill,
I'm
you
sorry,
can hear
Mike,
us?
my mute was on. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Bill, you can hear us?
I can hear perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sorry.
All right, item 4 for tonight is correspondence received. And I see, Tracy, we're referring to the FCAL watch letter that we received dated 13th of March.
Correct.
And I think everyone's had a copy of that letter, and its receipt is duly noted. In terms of the treasurer's report tonight, Lee, could you take us through the treasurer's report?
Sure. As of February 28th, the cash in the M&T checking account was $227,006.05. In the money market account was $45,046.88. And we earned interest in the amount of $3.45. Revenues for the month of February included interest earnings of $90.43, late pilot charges of $15,312.56, application fee of $2,000, and program fee of $41,000. The expenses for the month of February were $19,087.34. And we note an expense deposit was received on February 8th from Calverton Aviation Technology in the amount of $150,000.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to ask the board to considering accepting the report of expenses and authorization of the payment of our bills as of February 28th.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, duly noted. That brings us to our committee reports. Audit, Lee, do we have any audit committee reports?
I have the report.
Tony's the chair.
Oh, Tony, excuse me, sorry, Tony.
All right, I have the RIDA Audit Committee report. On March 21st, the committee met virtually with representatives of the auditing firm of Jones & Little to review the 2022 financials. The audit included an emphasis regarding the matter of the agency as a going concern, but after performing an evaluation, the auditors looked at the forecast and decided the agency will continue to operate. The auditors issued 3 clean opinions. Operating expenses were pretty much in line with the prior year. There was a decrease in the net position, but it was still positive. Overall, the net position of the agency is $74,000. GASB 68 requires that the auditors to show the New York State pension liability on the agency balance sheet. Due to growth in the investments, the New York State pension section shows assets this year, which is completely unusual. It was noted in the analysis that the agency came out better than budget revenues. Revenues were higher. Assets exceeded liabilities. The New York State pension expense was lower than budgeted. Professional fees were lower than budgeted. Travel and conference costs were lower than budget, and overall the agency looked good. The auditors noticed that the IDA is run very well, and they emphasized that at least 2 or 3 times. The committee then moved to recommend the approval of the audit to the full board. The committee then reviewed and moved to recommend the investment guidelines policy and report, salary and compensation policy, the whistleblower policy, the disposition of real property policy and report, and the assessment of internal controls to the full board for approval later today. The procurement report was not available for review and will be considered during this meeting by the full board. I will go on to the LDC Audit Committee.
No,
We'll
we're
do
for
that
that
at the
meeting.
next
Do
meeting.
that later.
Yeah.
All right, any comments from the board on the, all right? I don't think we need to have those accepted by the board, so that's fine, thank you very much, Tony. The next item would be governance. Lori?
Okay.
I think we have 2 governance
We do.
committee.
The Governance Committee met on January 27th to conduct a project status review and to conduct the annual agency policy review. Attorneys from Phillips Lidl updated the committee on the status of the preliminary agreement and stated that it has been executed by the IDA and the CDA, but not CAT at that time. They were to reach out to the developer's attorney to check the status of execution and establishment of the escrow for due diligence expenses with a due date of February 6th to submit the signed agreement. Phillips Lidl announced that they have reached out to 2 top 10 accounting firms to vet CAT's financial capabilities and expects to receive proposals in the next several weeks. The committee stressed vetting conflicts of interest with the firms. A firm will be retained only after establishment of the escrow account by CAT. A representative of the accounting firm will be made available at the agency's request should questions arise from their ultimate findings. Phillips Lidl's SEQRA expert discussed the town's processes related to SEQRA and zoning applicable to the site. It was explained that the IDA can rely on the SEQRA work that has already been completed, but once the developer commits to a definite course of action, the IDA will need to make a finding statement as part of its own SEQRA process to ensure the developer's plans are consistent with the work of the town thus far. Any consistency analysis will be coordinated with the town. As an interested agency, IDA closing documents will include language that states that the IDA has authority to look at each phase as it emerges. Committee members expressed the importance of maintaining communications with the planning department, the planning board, and the town board in this regard, but the IDA will be taking an independent hard look at the environmental impact of the project. For the benefit of the agency and the public, committee members worked with the attorneys to establish a draft outline of the approval process moving forward for the benefit of the agency and the public. The draft will be made a part of the next meeting's agenda and will be subject to amendment as conditions warrant. Phillips Lidl will follow up with CAT regarding the preliminary agreement, move forward with selecting a financial consultant, talk with CAT and the town attorney about their SEQRA processes as they seek town approvals to build, reach out to the assessor to engage her in a discussion of assessed valuation, and draft the process memo. They will also retain a firm to conduct an economic impact study once the escrow is established. The committee then reviewed the agency policies as they do each year and had no suggested changes to all but the fee schedule, which will be taken up at a later time. The committee approved the following policies for recommendation of adoption by the full board: the disposition of real property policy, procurement policy, statement of board responsibilities, code of ethics, whistleblower policy, bylaws, time and attendance policy, equal opportunity and non-discrimination policy, salary and compensation policy, defense and indemnification policy, and the mission statement and measurement report. That was from January of '27. And as you'll note, the escrow account that was referenced in those meetings just was received last month in February, the
Yeah.
$150,000 from the back.
That was noted on the treasurer's report.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
actually not an escrow account, it's deposit account.
Deposit account.
Yeah. So I should change that if it says it in the minutes.
Okay. And then we have another report, March 20th, 2023, with the first order of business being a review of the disposition of real property policy, which was recommended for approval without any amendments. A review of the procurement policy was tabled until a future date, and the indemnity policy is under review to ensure that the chapter of town law it cites is still accurate. The committee recommended that the full board conduct a review of the Paris report at the next scheduled meeting on March 27th. The committee reviewed the results from the annual board evaluation, and all members confirmed their satisfaction with board operations in compliance with state law. A motion was approved to recommend submission of the annual board evaluation as part of the agency's reporting to New York State. As it does every year, the committee wishes to remind all board members that they have every opportunity and are encouraged to delay any board action for consideration of any project or ask for further information that they may require to make an informed decision on agency projects. Committee members were updated on the status of the CAP project by the executive director and council, who both met with company and CDA representatives and their attorneys. The discussion covered the development plan, CAT's ability to implement the project, their equity position, borrowing and business plans, and the items that remain outstanding from a due diligence request sent on March 1st. Discussions focused on the desire to identify 4 consultants to undertake a thorough review by subject matter experts, including an accountant, mortgage broker or banker, a construction firm, and a commercial leasing broker. Committee members once again expressed their desire for CAT to make a presentation to the public to discuss their development plans and timeline, with an opportunity for a question and answer session, which would be separate and distinct from the agency's official public hearing on the application for assistance. The committee approved the recessing of the meeting to enter into executive session for the purposes of discussing contracts with their attorney from Phillips Lytle. That concludes the report.
Okay, thanks very much, Lori. Any comments, questions from members of the board? No? All right. That brings us to old business. I don't think there's a finance committee report today, right?
Nope.
Okay. Old business, of which there is none, apparently. Okay. And turning to...
Everything's new.
Hmm?
Everything's new.
Everything's new. And turning to new business, the first item would be the resolution 11-23, which is a resolution adopting, ratifying, and confirming board policies in the annual report, which we've had an opportunity to review. Any discussion on any of those items on the board? No? Well, in that case, I'd ask for a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Who was the
That's
second, Doug?
11-23.
Tony?
The second item, and I don't know if we want to review this at all, whether it has any comments, but would be a resolution to ratify and affirm and authorize submission of the 2022 Paris report. Before I ask for a motion, are there any comments from the executive director or the board on this?
I'll just, as I informed the board, there are 31 cards on the projects for 27 projects in the Paris, and that's because there are phases on a few of them. 6 companies reflected some job losses from the prior year, but as always, the agency will be following up with a review as to why. And despite those losses, however, we still note an overall net change in jobs greater than the prior year by a few, which is good. 4 projects graduated this year. Peconic Bay Medical Center retired their bonds. Solutions on 2nd Street, Summer Wind, and Miramax. I just want to note that, you know, a lot of the impact of the agency isn't captured in Paris. It's very, very minimal. And such as the full tax load, it doesn't reflect the full taxes that the projects pay. And it only reflects the pilot payments themselves as well as the exemptions that are a result of the increase to the assessed values that are a result of the project investment to begin with. So it kind of, in other words, taxable revenue that was not there prior to the project is what they claim as an exemption, which is fairly misleading to the public, whoever, you know, reads the Paris, which is one of our biggest albatrosses, right? They think it's tax revenue that was already there, and it never is. And other impacts that are not measurable, tangible, measurable items, like Solutions on Second Street. The investment impact from Solutions and the firehouse, there's clearly new investment on Second Street as a result of those initial inducements. And that's not quantifiable anywhere other than you see it happening. You see all the houses getting renovated there, and I firmly believe that's a result of the agency's operations. That's all I have on the parish report.
Okay. Any comments, questions from the board? Then I would ask for a motion to approve Resolution 12-23, which ratifies, affirms, and authorizes submission of the parish report for 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
And congratulations, Tracy. I mean, I know this is a huge undertaking every year.
Yes, that's true.
Among all the other things that you're trying to deal with on
The
our
ultimate
behalf,
force
I
one.
appreciate
Thank you.
your efforts. And maintaining, and still being it within deadline, which is always a crazy.
Which is far beyond the other ideas.
Yeah.
But of course, some of them have like hundreds of projects. you know.
That brings us to a final resolution to consider tonight, which is the resolution authorizing endorsement for a deposit account, and I think this is referring to M&T Bank account, right?
Yes.
Would anybody have any comments or questions about this? No? In that case, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve this.
Move to approve it. I'll second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have an executive director's report?
We do. So I stuck in your packet, which I normally just do, but I thought you'd like to see. We do a report to the state as well on sales tax recapture, if there is any. We didn't have any this year, but I put the report just so you see what's entailed. It's called the ST62.
Yep.
So that will be forwarded. That gets forwarded to the Director of Budget, the Town Supervisor, the State Comptroller, Tax and Finance, and the Commissioner of Economic Development, like all our other reports. I just want to remind everybody to submit their disclosures if you haven't done it already.
Yes.
We also received our bond allocation for this year in the amount of $719,180. I want to point out, I don't know if I sent it to you, on the News 12 East End this weekend. They did a piece over the weekend on North Fork Brewing Company and North Fork Chocolate. And there was also articles in Riverhead Local and the News Review on North Fork Chocolate. And these projects are in part a result of IDA assistance to provide space for them. And I don't know if the board or some of the newcomers know that North Fork Chocolate was raised in the Calverton Incubator, which was a project and built by the IDA. They launched out of Tanger for notoriety, and Tanger was assisted only with sales tax, nominal investment compared to the sales tax we receive in return. So they got their notoriety there, and now they're in a home in a project that the IDA encouraged to build into smaller retail space, and they're in our downtown Riverhead. So that's another unmeasurable success that bleeds over from IDA assistance. And I wanted you to take a look at the articles, and if you can go on News 12, if I didn't send it to you, the link for those. But those are two, that's why we do what we do. Those are small businesses who may not even know of our involvement necessarily. Well, Norfolk Brewery does, because they have to report. But Norfolk Chocolate probably has no idea that the IDA assisted all those areas that they were selling and cooking and being successful in.
And that's one of the projects that graduated this year, Miramax, right?
Miramax, right, correct.
Right,
So
so
Miramax
that
is fully on the
next
tax
year,
roll,
they'll be fully
correct.
taxable downtown.
Correct, yep. Mm-hmm. Let me just make sure I don't have anything else. Okay, that's it for my report.
All right. With that, then, I would like to adjourn this meeting so that we can enter into executive session to discuss matters of litigation.
Motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5:23. So just hold one moment. So is there anybody in the Zoom? Okay, they'll both stay, and we'll have to excuse you for the executive meeting, sorry.
And just as a heads up, when we,
You don't go into the small room, we have to leave the big room?
Yeah,
Will we come
we
back
can't
for?
bring them with us.
no, yeah.
Oh, I see. They're in the,
They're in the
I hadn't
meeting.
realized that.
When
Will
we
we
come
come
back,
back
we're just
for-
going to adjourn, so.
Yeah, likely, and then they'll be emailed this evening.
Okay, all right.
Do you have copies of the audit report too?
I don't have, it's still in draft form as of tonight, but I can send it to you.